If you've never heard of FIRE before, FIRE basically means financial independent, retire early. It says what it says on the tin. It's basically able to consider yourself retired at an early age. This doesn't mean that you're actually retired, like you sit on a beach somewhere. You could do if you wanted to, but this basically means that you could live off your investments for the rest of your life without working again. Most people that are have achieved FIRE, as we say, are still work and still earn money, but they don't have to work. It's not a requirement. Um, the I want to show you today some basically resources. Specifically, I'm going to show you some general resources, then I'm going to use some Europe specific resources, and then I'm going to go some Ireland specific resources. This is something I found quite hard to find. You can always find American resources or specifically focused around the US. In terms of Europe and in Ireland, I think the resources are actually harder to find, and this is resources about fire, but it's also resources in general about finance around Europe and Ireland. So let's get started. Course is called Playing with Fire. This actually has a lot of stuff. Like there's a podcast, there's a documentary, there's a book, there's like they have a beginner's guide to fire, which is great. There's also some tools. They also have courses, but again, I haven't taken any courses. I am quite big into fire, and I would like to do I would like to retire early. But this is a calculator that can help you calculate these numbers. So what we're going to do is going to enter our age. Let's say for this case, make it easy, we're 30. Our annual income after taxes, let's just take I think the median number, let's say it's 55,000. This is after taxes. Oh wait, sorry, not after taxes. Let's say after taxes it's 30,000, right? Let's say our current portfolio, our current cost of living. So this is how much basically you cost to live in annual expense. So basically, you just take your monthly expenses and you multiply by 12. This can include your mortgage. Of course, later on in life, your mortgage should be lower. But in terms of let's include everything, and let's just say our living expenses are half that. So we're doing quite well. We save basically half our annual income. And our current net worth for our case, let's put that our current investment portfolio is 25,000, right? Now, again, these are fake numbers, but it's just to give you an idea. Let's take an asset allocation. So let's say we're 30 and I'm going to do 15% in bonds. I'm going to do 85% in this and 0% in cash because I don't need cash for the moment. The expected return you can leave, this is kind of adjusted for inflation. And basically, you can see that this will tell you when you can retire safely. This is saying I can retire in 15 years by the age of 45 if I continue to live this way. Now, one very important thing to note here is that this, if you, this doesn't account for increasing your income or lowering your expenses even further. The lower you can get your expenses, the earlier you can retire. So, for example, let's do 10,000. And you can see that our retirement just cut by half. So basically, the less you spend, the earlier you can retire. Again, this is giving you a number of what your portfolio will be like at each year. And again, the idea is that in the idea that we have in the financial independent retire early movement is that you have a safety withdrawal rate, which is basically 4% of your portfolio, which means basically you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year without actually ever running out of money. Because in terms of like it's supposed to go 5 to 7% a year, you would essentially have money forever. You could live on basically your portfolio would never go down. You kind of just even out every year. Anyway, that's it for our first resource. Let's move on to our next one. You will especially with fire, you will inevitably run into Mr. Money Mustache. Now, this guy has a really good blog about basically fire. He was the kind of one of the main persons to take it mainstream. He was all over the U.S. news about he retired. Him and his wife retired when they were 30 because they spent so little, and he kind of has articles and stuff about having how to basically increase your income and decrease your expenses. And there's a lot of good material on this blog, and you can search for any topics here. Again, this is more American centric, but you have really good tips about like reducing your groceries or basically how to get your family on board with fire. They do have a forum as well, which has like so much good information about kind of like it's basically anything. Like look how many posts are on this. Like so he's a really really big community. I would highly recommend going in here and see if you can find any questions around. Now they might be a bit US centric, but you can kind of take the same thing. It's actually another YouTuber called Ryan Scrivener. And this video specifically, I will have it linked in the description. This is how to retire at age 30 and off your investments. Now, he makes it very clear up front that it's pretty hard to retire by 30, but he goes through the exact calculations you would need, for example, if you wanted to retire by the age of 30. Now, they're kind of crazy, but you can get the idea, and he goes through much more detail than I will because I don't want to go through enumerate the same things he does in this video, and this video is going to be much better anyway in terms of like what exactly FIRE is and calculating your number. Again, I showed you the calculator in our first resource, but this is also a good resource to basically. He's also has a good resource about calculating stuff like this, and he also does have one or two videos around investing in Europe, even though he's a US centric channel. So our third resource is right. Very general FIRE resources. Now we're going to get into the Europe specific FIRE resources. So the first one is firehub.eu. This is one I actually found very recently, and they have a bunch of like, they even have a start here. So you can actually kind of get your idea around FIRE, what, why, who, the goals, and the blog. They also have a wiki that shows you a bunch of terms they can do, and there's Google Docs, there's blogs, you can search blog posts, and they also have this section, which is great. They also have a bunch of resources. Again, this is a really good website for kind of getting started. And again, it's like they say, it's the financial independence hub of Europe. There's a lot of blog posts that will come up here. There will be a lot of educational stuff that you can get out of this blog. So I highly recommend this blog. And that's for our fourth resource. That's FireHub subreddit called Europe Fire. And again, this is great because most people here want to be on the same path as you. If you're into FIRE, they will ask a lot of questions, and sometimes you'll find very specific European questions or very specific Spanish questions. So if you're coming from anywhere in Europe, this is actually a great community to ask questions, and people are very very friendly in the subreddit. They tend to be very kind of good, and again, some people have made apps that track some of this stuff, so it's actually quite good to get into this subreddit. And again, the one thing I would say is that you should go to top and you should sort by either all time this year, and you'll find probably some of the best posts. Like this one is very good, like this Swedish, and it's quite a good resource. So that's it for our fifth resource, which is the European Fire subreddit. To fire.com. This is written by Mr. Fight to Fire, which is he's a 28-year-old Belgian, and he's basically going through the financial independence retire early movement, and he's kind of just blogging his progress, which is great because you can see where you could be or some information. Like he has some about here. You can see about him. The one thing you should go into is his portfolio. Now, I think this is broken. I hope this is broken because I hope he's at minus 90,000. But you can see his saving all the time. You can see his portfolio breakdown. You can see his stocks. It has some nice graphics. You can see his pension fund. So he's very, very open about the information he's putting out there. He also has a bunch of milestones for the year, and I think it's a great blog to kind of give you an idea of how to track some of this information. And again, it's going to be Euro specific because this person lives in Belgium. That's it for our sixth resource, fightingtofire.com. This is where we're going to get into the Ireland specific resources. Now, this blog actually also talks about Canada resources, but this is called mrsmoneyhacker.com, and this is a blog I found very recently, and it's written by a girl called Megan. She lives in Ireland. She is from Canada, I think, and she married an Irish guy, but essentially she lives in Ireland, and she basically had the same ideas that she wanted to start. She knew there wasn't enough posts about investing from Ireland, and she wanted to get started, and she has a bunch of posts and a bunch of super helpful posts about how to invest in Ireland and kind of get you an idea like how ETF, like there's some really good blog posts here. She also has some posts around mortgages, should you pay off your mortgage early, should not, and it's very very good. There also are Canadian posts, which I'm not going to get into Canadian posts. She has some tools that there's Irish tools and there's Canadian tools, but I highly recommend this blog, and she seems to post semi regularly because the last post is in the 31st of May. Again, this is a really good blog. That's it for our seventh resource, myfire.ie. Again, this is another Irish specific one. This is written by a person that goes by the name of Vintrix. Again, this is a smaller blog than the Mrs. Money Hacker, but it has some good posts. He does post every, I think it's once a month or maybe sometimes twice a month, and he does have some really good points. He also has some links out to some of the other blogs that I discussed already, and that's how I found some of them. So I wanted to give him a shout out here. He has a quite a good backlog of posts, so I think you can learn a lot from this blog. Again, this he has also had a reading list that he gets into, which is quite can give you an idea of some of the books that he finds useful. I will do a video eventually on some of the books that I read, or I think I already have one. It might be in the link in the description. That's it for our eighth resource, Ignite My Fire. Me going through the F.I.R.E, well, very brief introduction to F.I.R.E and all the resources we have for in Europe. You might think there isn't that many in Europe, but we have quite a few, as I discussed. If you have any more, please let me know. I'm always looking out for new blogs or new kind of ideas around blog posts. Again, if you've liked the video, please like the video. It really, really helps. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And also, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I would love to answer anything you have about F.I.R.E or general finance advice. I hope you enjoyed.